Not yet. Not yet. Let me tuck my chains before people start getting jealous. Okay. Where are we? I don't even know. Okay. Can y'all hear me? We ready? Oh, let me turn down that ambience. Turn the ambience is a little strong. There we go. Are we good? We good to go? Good evening, everyone. Of course, this is Bro Diallo. Skipp Coon. Let me just check one more time. Skipp Coon is lost in translation. I got a text from Skipp saying he's stuck at the airport. Yeah, I haven't heard. Yeah, his flight got delayed. He's out there messing around with Jared. Him and Jared running the streets. He's not taking care of his responsibility. Uh-oh. Wait, let's see, maybe. Anyway, Skipp, I got the phone here, so if you do get your, anyway, yeah, Skipp might not be joining us because his flight got delayed, but I'm on deck in case he does resolve his travel issues and inconveniences. Then we ready when he is. But anyway, it's just us tonight. But you know, we're not going to have that calming, civilizing effect that Skipp Coon brings to the rational radicals. So we just gonna be radical tonight. No rationality. Okay. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Today is what's the name? Oh yeah, we're talking about conspiracy theory versus paranoid lunacy. So, and I'm going to try to get through what I got to say with the quickness, and I'm going to open it up for discussion so y'all could either questions, comments, criticisms in the comment thing, or I'll share the link and y'all can chime in, and this can be an engaging thing because, you know, this is something that I think we've covered a little bit and from time to time, but this conspiracy nonsense is really kicking our ass as Black people, as I believe it was assigned to do. What I really wanted, what brought this topic back to my wife gave me a coaster and I lost it already. I got this water here and it fell. Oh, here it is. She threw away my other coaster. She said it was nasty and grimy. And then she brought me another coaster for my beverages here on my desk. And now I'm going to try to make this one nasty and grimy, I guess. But I don't think this is like a silicone coaster for my water. So it's all gravy. So anyway, let's just jump in with both feet, shall we? Again, this is Black Power Media. This is Bro Diallo. Skipp Coon, as I said, is text me and let me know that he's stuck in transit. I think he's in the air right now. So, you know, you don't want Skipp Coon, you know, if you're on an airplane in the air, you don't want the sky marshal to overhear you playing nothing I got to say. Anyway, so conspiracy theories and paranoid lunacy. Now, let me just get out of the way right real quick that I am a person who realizes and appreciates the values of exposing conspiracy. I do accept that there are conspiracies and conspirers who seek to do insidious things from behind the scene to harm my community, to harm my people, and to profit themselves at the expense of others. I do not denounce or dismiss the existence of conspiracies, and I appreciate and seek to participate in the exposure, bringing light to conspiracies. So this is not me getting on here strictly to attack conspiracies or theories about conspiracy. But my problem is, and what I seek to clarify, is that many of the things that we call conspiracies, many of the conspiracies that are believed or held to or feared by the Black community specifically, but as the United States as a whole, have no validity. When we talk about theories, most of the time when I think of theories, it is a scientific term. It is a very distinct scientific term, right? And in order to reach or establish a theory in science, there are very specific steps or benchmarks that must be reached to go from a hypothesis to a theory, right? From a scientific point of view. And because we live in the age of information, which was birthed from the age of technology, the age of reason, we are people of logic. We like to believe that we are at the stage of humanity where we have reached really the apex of human development. Currently, some people even go so far as to say this is the end of history, meaning that the level of intellectual development, even though we can come up with new technologies in terms of ideologies and philosophies and economic systems, we pretty much reached the apex of that. And current economic systems, current ideological philosophy, democracy, capitalism, secular government, things of this nature just can't be questioned and they can't be surpassed. We've exited the dark ages of illiteracy and monarchy, theocracy, well, most of the world has, or the Western world has, and we've reached the apex of human existence, right? And so since we're at this point, people who challenge the established order, people who challenge the status quo, just by articulating your discontent, makes you an irrational person, a person who's beyond reason, or a utopian person, or a person who engages in fantasy or fanciful thinking. Now, me as a person, ideologically, who wants to fundamentally transform all human relationships, one to the other, to institutions, the state, establish religion and theologies, transform human relationships to the environment and other living creatures and non-living ecosystems. I think that the way that society is structured and sustained and woven together is unsustainable, unjust, and illegitimate. So a lot of times I find myself lumped in with the conspiracy theorist. And I find people who articulate, who expose hidden agendas, people who denounce insidious agendas, people who denounce conspirators, are all lumped together. And it's uncomfortable for me because the vast majority of conspiracy theorists, to me, are insane. They are not engaged in conspiracy theorism or conspiracy theory. They're engaged in what I call paranoid lunacy. This is understandable in a system and society that is fundamentally unjust. In a system and society that is constructed around such obscene and obvious lies and deceptions. America is a democracy. Capitalism is about merit. It's a meritocracy. You can make it if you really work hard and try. We have reached a level of equality for women, equality for amongst races. There are so many blatant, obvious lies being told and sustained and articulated throughout society. It's very easy to get caught up in saying, damn, what else are they lying about? If they're lying to me about obvious shit that's on the surface, how can I trust them about what's going on in the boardrooms, in the chambers of government when the press isn't there? And hell, the press, I can't trust the press. I can't even trust my neighbor. This is part of capitalist alienation. Man versus man. All of humans pursuing their enlightened self-interest pursuing their own individual selfish goals, that being looked at as a virtue, and then at the same time desiring and needing to connect with other human beings. So I'm saying all that to say, and I could go on, is that this current time in history and the conditions that we all live in is very ripe for the emergence of conspiracies and people believing and holding on to conspiracies. And it also allows for us, especially the people who believe the lies about I'm a man and what a man is supposed to be and what a man is expected to achieve and what I can do and who I am. And if I fail to reach all those things, if I don't have all the sex, all the money, all the cars, all the property, if I fail to reach alpha status, even though I've been told that I feel checking all the boxes for alpha status, but yet my life is not going in the direction it has been promised, there must be some secret, hidden, insidious agenda against me. So I've called conspiracy theories a plague of the Black community, but really, especially, they really find their legs amongst the so-called Black conscious community. And I feel that, goddamn, I can't even say, but I can say from my own anecdotal experience and having interacted with everything from elders in the struggle, well known and set at the foot of revolutionary scholars, to up and coming grassroots activists, to newly awakening Black people. I've engaged with Black people from the full spectrum of the ideological, conscious, cultural, the Kawaiitas, the Black nationalist, various Black Afrocentric cults and cults of personality. And everywhere we go, I'm seeing movements, organizations, ideologies, and individuals who are caught up in absurdist conspiracies that not only distract us from what's really going on, but completely derail and redirect us. These conspiracy theories have us embracing things we should reject and rejecting things we should embrace. And they render many of our people incapable of reasoning within themselves or reasoning and engaging with other people because they're so embedded in these not really conspiracy theories, but paranoid delusions. Conspiracy is little more than a hidden agenda. Conspiracy is nothing more than something that more than one person comes together to plan, organize, and execute. Some conspiracies are bad, some conspiracies are noble and justified. When the Black Liberation Army conspired to liberate incarcerated political prisoners, to engage in armed guerrilla warfare against imperialist factions, they conspired. When people come together to plan, organize, and execute, and the people who are aware of what is being done keep that information about that planning, organizing, and executing secret from the general public or the masses, that is a conspiracy. If I come on here and say, hey, this is Bro Diallo, I'm over here, South Side of Chicago, I'm organizing a community garden. The community garden is going to be non-GMO seeds, organic, and we're going to just pool our resources and self-finance this, and we're going to distribute the food across the community. And then 5 or 6 people come together and we all go and do this. That's not necessarily a conspiracy because of the non-secret component. Now, a conspiracy would be some white liberal coming to say, hey, we're coming to establish a community garden. But when they're coming to establish a community garden, they're really trying to change the atmosphere of the inner city in order to attract corporate investment and white residents. Many community garden projects, many development projects, on the surface, they say we're coming to make the community safer, we're coming to beautify the community, we're coming to make the community a walkable community, we're trying to increase neighborhood density, which are all good things. But the true agenda is to displace the poor, the Black residents, and bring in affluent and wealthier white residents or non-Black residents. So even though there's a very public agenda and very public plan that many of us, most of us could get behind, who don't want a garden? Who don't want a cafe with them delicious almond milk or oat milk lattes? But you 1 week you got an almond milk latte, the next week you got a eviction notice on your door because you can't afford to upkeep the property taxes. You're being economically displaced. You're being ethnically cleansed. That's a conspiracy. So you can see how two groups can do the exact same thing, and one be just a plan, one just be an organizer, and the other person is a conspiracy and a conspiracy theorist. But we get confused to the point where we think anybody planning anything is a conspiracy theorist, to the point where I've encountered some people who don't even want to engage in organizing because they think that everybody in the room is an agent or a potential agent. The level of paranoia and distrust that they can't even functionally coordinate and cooperate with other people. So it's weird to me that so many people embrace conspiracy theories, believe conspiracy theories, set up their life and even determine their personal and intimate relationship based on conspiracy theories, and don't really comprehend what a theory is, what a conspiracy. What is a theory? This is what a theory is from a scientific. That's where the language came from. A theory is nothing more than a tested and demonstrable hypothesis. So if I look at a phenomenon, like the germ theory, I see people get sick, and the same people are in the same condition or exposed to the same disease, and some people get sick, some people don't. Or like the milkmaids, cowpox. They found that milkmaids back in the day, when the ladies who tended cows wouldn't get sick from this particular communicable disease. And they found out that the women who were interacted with the cow would receive immunity because they would be exposed to what they call attenuated bacteria or attenuated viruses, and they would build up immunity over time. And people who didn't interact with the cow on a daily basis would get the cowpox and die. And so they were like, I observe a phenomenon. People who interact with cows on a daily basis don't get sick, and people who don't interact with cows get the same disease and they die. So the people who interact with the cow must be receiving some type of protection based on their interaction with the cow. That is a hypothesis. You're drawing conclusions on observed phenomena. Then you test that hypothesis. You draw some blood, or you do a swab of the cow udder. You do a swab or a blood sample from the milkmaid. You do a blood sample from a control group, and then you see that this person's blood. So basically, all to say that you observe something happening. I don't care if it's people getting sick or susceptibility due to disease, or white people got all the money and the Black people don't have no money. This particular intersection has a lot of accidents, whereas an intersection that pretty much has the same rate of traffic and the same stoplights, and they have all kind of accidents. Or at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there's a lot of accidents at this intersection, and the same intersection at 5 o'clock, there's almost no accidents. So you observe a phenomenon, and then you look at the phenomenon, you try to draw conclusions on that phenomenon. White folks have all the money. Black people have no money. That's the observed phenomenon that you can prove with facts. Then you can begin to hypothesize. Do white people work harder? Or white people more frugal or thrifty with their money? Or white people more intelligent than black people? Or white people marry and stay with their significant others, their spouse, and black people get divorced? Then you can test this. You can test this phenomenon. You can go get a group. Well, here's a group of single black people, and here's a group of married white people, and the married white people are wealthier than the single black people. It must be lack of marriage. Black people don't get married. But then you say, oh, wait a second. Here's a group of married black couples, and here's a group of single white mothers. And you find out that the white mothers, single white mothers, have more wealth than the married black couples, which is a fact you can verify. So it ain't marriage or lack thereof. Marriage can't be the cause, because the hypothesis is not supported by the evidence and what can be tested and demonstrated. I'm getting a little too deep in this, but basically just take my word for it. A theory is tested, is observed phenomenon that you can draw conclusions about, and then those conclusions can be validated and invalidated through testing. Uh-oh. Phone went off. Let me see if that's Skipp. Nope. It ain't. Anyway, moving on. So anyway, if I think, well, the Jews control the Federal Reserve. Well, the Federal Reserve is a private corporation, or there is a secret cabal called the Illuminati that controls world phenomena. That there's a homosexual agenda that wants to turn masculine alpha males into females, or make us effeminate in order. There's a bunch of, and what's scary is, before you can even start to test the phenomenon, many people don't even draw their hypothesis based on things they observe. People draw their conclusions based on how they feel. They draw them based on beliefs, on fears, on things they're paranoid about. And then they start they don't even bother with the testing the hypothesis, seeing what can be disseminated and sussed out and included or excluded from their observations. They jump from I can't even go so far. I wish I could, but it can't even go to observe phenomenon, because you'll find a lot of conspiracy theorists. Some do talk about observed phenomena, but some make up shit out of absolutely nowhere. So it can't even be called a conspiracy theory. It doesn't even reach the point of a hypothesis, let alone a theory. But outside of the scientific definition of theory can be classified as basically a set of conclusions reached as a result of phenomenon, observed or understood phenomenon. So I can look at the NBA and say, well, the most prominent members of the NBA are black men. The most prominent NBA players are black men. That's an observed phenomenon. And my theory is black men are successful in the NBA because they were bred as slaves to have physical prowess. And that has been passed down. And there was actually a guy, what's his name? Y'all know who he is. Y'all know who it is. Who lost his job. I think his name is Jimmy the Greek. Jimmy the Greek said that black men are successful at sports because of selective breeding during slavery. I might even have that. Y'all want to see that?
About the significance of Martin
Y'all hear
Luther
that?
King's birthday. He said that blacks were bred to be superior athletes.
The slave owner would breed his big black to his big woman so that he could have a big black kid.
And Snyder said that's why blacks excel over whites in sports.
The black is a better athlete to begin with because he's been bred to be that way, because of his high thighs and big thighs that goes up into his back.
Snyder went on, saying there's not much room left for, quote, the white guys in sports, except for a couple of coaching jobs. His dismissal seemed inevitable, given the widespread coverage and criticism.
I think it's might fall into two categories. Category one is that...
Anyway, so he had a theory based on observed phenomenon. He had a theory based on observed phenomenon. And this is really Jimmy the Greek's type of theories. Now, he couldn't say, notice he didn't say that it's because blacks are bred to be superior. Does that also mean that whites were genetically deficient or degrade? So he only talked about the black breeding up, but he didn't talk about the white degrading down. And how did we know that it happened during slavery? Maybe it happened during the when they were caught in the Caucasus Mountains during the Ice Age, where they got, you know, trapped when a group of primates got trapped in the caves and hills of the Caucasus, you know. But anyway, so these are the type of conspiracies that float around. They're all over the place, and they harm us. They distract us, they misinform us, and they provoke a lot of absurd and inappropriate behavior within the cultural community and community as a whole. But let me speak to some specific conspiracy that are popular. I'm not going to hit on all of them. I started making my list and the shit got too long, got way too long. But I'm just going to hit on some absurdist conspiracy theories that are not even qualified to be conspiracy theories, but more so qualify as paranoid delusions. Number one, and this came after BG got out of prison. BG, if you don't know, Cash Money is an Army nigga, a Navy nigga. If you ever play Hate Me For You, it ain't Gravy nigga. If you was with Cash Money Records from the 99 to the 2000, then if you was around back then, you just couldn't miss the impact and influence of Cash Money, Army, and BG, who I think if he hadn't been incarcerated, I think that he would have probably been the most successful artist to come out of the Hot Boys. I think his incarceration really opened things up for Lil Unchi. And that's a conspiracy. But I digress. But anyway, BG came out of prison after doing 11 years. And if you know anybody that did hard times, who did more than a nickel, who did more than 5 years in jail, you will see that prison ages you. And it doesn't just age you. I mean, if you work in the prison system, you know, I worked in the prison infirmary. I worked at Rikers Island Prison Infirmary for 4 years, almost 4 years. And that just being in that environment ages you rapidly. It ages you rapidly. And so he came out looking weathered, like many people do. Skin a little paler. They don't get much sunlight. The stress lines. And anyway, so he came out looking exactly as you would expect someone, especially in Louisiana, especially them southern prisons, inhumane conditions. The southern prison system has been denounced by many international agencies as being inhumane and violating international human rights laws. But that's another discussion. But anyway, I thought to myself immediately, when is the hood going to start saying BG is a clone? And within hours of BG being released from prison, posts started coming out like BG's a clone. And they were literally posting images of BG from the Hot Boy era from 1997, 98 to images from him from 2023. And again, this isn't BG just aging over a decade and a half. This is BG aging with behind the walls of some of the most brutal and inhumane prison conditions that you can find in the so-called developed world. And they were like, look at him now and look at him here. And I'm like, I knew it. The hood would not disappoint me. Here come the assertions that BG is a clone. And dudes are dead ass about that. So he don't look nothing like he did 15 years ago. And the same thing happened with Jamie Foxx, was said to have been a clone. Going back a little further, remember Gucci Mane? This is when I first really came into black. Genuine conclusion that they are black and cloning. So, more recent, and there was a short window of time where Kanye West supposedly was cloned, but it goes back before even what's his name? Gucci Mane. But Gucci Mane came out. When Gucci Mane went into jail, he was deep in the throngs of addiction. That's all I gotta say. And he said that he got sobered up, and he's even my mic, how it sound now? Shit. Always something. How's the mic now? Right. They said Kanye was cloned for a little while, but it goes back. During the OJ trial, it was said that OJ was cloned. And if you remember the darkened magazine cover, where they darkened his image on Time magazine, if you remember that, even Dick Gregory said there was a dent in the side of OJ's head. And so they said if OJ hadn't been cloned, then he'd been surgically altered. Let me say. There's this infamous magazine cover where people are like, that's not the real OJ. That ain't OJ. What they done did to OJ. And they said that there was a indentation on the side of his head. And they speculated that he had been, if he wasn't a full-on clone, then he was surgically altered. And the whole OJ thing was so this clone celebrity conspiracy. And I just had a guy today message me and was like, I don't understand what cloning is. Well, I wonder if I can find that. Sent me this whole message. I didn't dignify it with the response, man. I did not dignify it with the response. Because now they want to redefine what a clone means. I'm not even going to read it out loud because, like I said, I don't want to dignify. Oh, I don't see it. Anyway, this guy comes to tell me clone doesn't mean the artificial reproduction of another human, the duplication of someone, the genetic and biological duplication of another living being. But now cloning, what was this? He had some weird ass. Like I said, I didn't want to NFL. I talk too much. Oh, here it is. He said that cloning doesn't mean a biological replicant, that it could be an allegory. And accused me of adhering to white science. I'm gonna have to do a show on white science because I don't know what the fuck it is, but I get accused of fucking around with it. But anyway, now cloning, he asserted that they didn't mean that cloning was literal. I don't know what he was trying to say, and I didn't want to argue it. But here's the problem with this clone phenomenon. First of all, it inflates the relevance and importance of these ball chasers and minstrels to the community. I had asked a question when Jamie Foxx was accused, when they were saying Jamie Foxx was cloned. I asked the question, what threat did Jamie Foxx pose to capitalism, white hegemony, or even the larger scientific or military industrial complex that his cloning thwarted or prevented? And I never get an answer. They just send me these images of him before he suffered the health crisis and after, and they send me these photos of his skin looking paler and his head looking rounder than before he had his shape up, and they never really explain to me. Because here's my thing, not that I don't think that any of these celebrities are cloned. I don't think resources would be expended on wasting such resources and technologies on these celebrities. But even if they were cloned, who cares? What would be the impact? If they could clone someone and have them represent themselves as the original doppelganger, what is the point of cloning them? What is the point? It is irrational, and the technology is not at that level yet, as far as I know. Unless, DARPA might be advanced enough to clone an adult. But what I understand about cloning is that when something is cloned, it still has to go through the basic reproductive process. Meaning that if you wanted to clone Bro Diallo today, and I willingly went in and it's like, here's my blood, take a full DNA screening, what you would have to do is create an embryo, a fertilized zygote. Implant that fertilized embryo and zygote into a womb or a uterus of a living woman and have her carry that baby to term. So even if you do get cloned as an adult, your clone will be an infant and have to grow up. Y'all look at these movies where cloning is a vat and you step in one vat and then all of a sudden a whole new duplication of you. Process of cloning still has to follow the reproductive process. So if they cloned Jamie Foxx the day he got sick, his clone would still be in either the womb of a woman or in some type of artificial womb or vat. It makes no sense. It's not even possible. Even the creatures that we understand that are cloned, like Dolly the sheep was famously cloned. They're cloning people's dogs right now. They have the capacity to clone many creatures. I acknowledge that cloning technology exists, but cloning technology is simply cloning an embryo, a fertilized egg or embryo, and then implanting that fertilized egg into a living specimen, and then having that clone go through the exact same fetal process. So unless they cloned BG, Jamie Foxx, Kanye West, OJ Simpson, Gucci Mane, I mean, like, fuck, why white folks got way too much money to burn? Give us our goddamn reparations. You got money to clone Gucci Mane? That's like the most pointless thing. If I had cloning technology, I'm a clone Gucci Mane. Goddamn, one Gucci Mane is enough. But unless they cloned Gucci Mane at birth and then raised up his duplicate in some type of, what's that movie with Jim Carrey? Truman Show, and had him living Gucci Mane's life and replicating Gucci Mane's mannerisms, his cadence, and implanting and giving him all of Gucci Mane's memories, and then take Gucci Mane off the scene and then bring him out of this Truman Show-esque pseudo environment and plop him down in Gucci Mane's mansion. It's just the most absurd, and it's frightening to me. And y'all laughing, but the fact that black people who have literacy, who have access to information on the internet, can truly believe, and there's debates about whether or not somebody is cloned simply by going through the aging process. You put up a picture of Bro Diallo in high school with no facial hair and a high top fade, and you put up one now and be like, look, he don't look nothing like himself. Bro Diallo was cloned. So I wanted to start lowbrow because this shit is real. And if you don't believe me, go out there and engage with the clone community. We also got Illuminati blood sacrifices. Whenever a relative of someone who is either famous or rising in prominence meets an untimely death, we say they were a sacrifice. There are people that swear that Aaliyah was a blood sacrifice. They get confused. Sometimes they say, first they say, oh, Dame Dash sacrificed Aaliyah. But then they're like, oh, wait, he went broke or went bankrupt. So no, Jay-Z sacrificed Aaliyah. There was a really disgusting, God damn it. There was a really disgusting delusion going around here, Chicago, that Jennifer Hudson sacrificed her whole family for her fame. And if you know anything about that, oh, it's really disgusting. Kanye West just recently said that his mother was sacrificed, but then he realized that if his mother was a sacrifice, then he was the recipient of the rewards, because he went from saying God is using me to show out, I'm a billionaire and woo woo woo, and then he said they sacrificed my mom. And then I think somebody got to him and said, well, if they sacrificed your mom, and if we are to follow the Illuminati blood sacrifice conspiracy theory, then you were not only a recipient of the rewards of that sacrifice, you also conspired with them, whoever they are, to take your mother out. And also that conspiracy of Illuminati blood sacrifice is also understood that you will receive a reward, but you also pick the sacrifice specifically, or the Illuminati comes to you and say, we're going to pick the person, but you have to green light that person. Because if there's no loss, that's not a sacrifice. Because if Illuminati came to me, it's like, Diallo, you want to get big? You want to have the finer things? You want to stop flying coach and private jet your shit? You want to be able to do money phones on Instagram? And I'm like, hell yeah. And they were like, you got to do an Illuminati blood sacrifice. Listen, I could give them a list. Like, oh, yeah, I got a list of who I can sacrifice, but it's not a sacrifice unless it is somebody you don't want to die. Someone you love, someone you feel close to. It's not a sacrifice if you feel no bond or connection with that person, or their loss does not negatively impact you. So the only way for Kanye's mother to be a sacrifice is if he said, yes, take her from me, and I willingly allow you to take her on my behalf, and the pain of losing my mother is worth the rewards that you will give me of her as a sacrifice. So he realized rather quickly when he was talking about they sacrificed my mama and Donda got sacrificed, and Donda was sacrificed to her own vanity. But I ain't gonna get But when he said they sacrificed my mom, you notice he came off that shit. He was like, fuck that. I can't talk this Illuminati blood sacrifice shit. Let me get on I love Hitler. Let me go Nazi. It's going blood sacrifice implicates me. So he got off that shit real quick. But this also is absurd. Number one, because it ignores the fact that Black people, our life expectancy in the United States is greatly diminished. When Black people are born, biologically, scientifically, we have a better chance at life. You know, I haven't taken formal college level classes in human reproduction, human pathology, human anatomy, and physiology, it is understood that people of African descent, if all things being equal, have several advantages and gifts in terms of lower rates of congenital defects due to our wide-ranging genetic diversity. We are very biologically resilient people. So if all things are being equal and you have a child of African descent and a child of non-African descent, the child of African descent should live longer and suffer fewer ailments than the child of non-African descent. Up to and including that when you go in for organ transplant, they have to suppress your immune system in order to prevent you from rejecting the transplanted organ. And it is part of the routine that Black people have to be given higher levels of immunosuppressants than non-African descended people because our immune system is much stronger and more aggressive. So all things being equal, with the lower rates of congenital and genetic defects and disease and risk of mutation, our natural abilities for visual acuity, respiratory, that Jimmy the Greek believes that we got from being bred as slaves. But I have to tell Mr. Greek that we came over here with these gifts that every other human being that can be defined as other than African is a genetic offshoot of the blueprint, the prototype. And I don't even say this to brag because it gets silly, but I mean, if they love to distort the science to make us look like, oh, Black people have these gifts not because of our evolutionary trajectory, but we have these gifts because of white manipulation. They even want to take credit for that. They take credit for the goddamn pyramids. They take credit for our natural advantages and biological, I guess you could call them gifts. They take credit for every motherfucking thing. But I digress. All things being equal, Black people should have a longer lifespan than we do. But you take a Black child and you put them in an environment that is literally set up not only for their degradation, but for their exploitation. And we end up having the lowest lifespan in the Western world. We end up having an intensification of crippling and deforming chronic diseases due to our immune systems, our endocrine systems, our circulatory systems begin to degrade at a more rapid pace than our white or non-Black counterparts because of the societal and institutional and structural oppression and assaults that we suffer. So Black people have a reduced, not only is our lifespan reduced, we are projected to develop chronic and debilitating ailments sooner in life, and those ailments begin to deteriorate us at a more aggressive pace because this what they call pathogenic system that we live in, and we also don't get the remedies, bypass surgeries, the adequate amount of treatment and preventative medicine that we need when we encounter these. So all things end up being that Black people have shorter lifespans and more susceptible to infection and transmissible diseases and acute injury, gunshots and accidents, and also chronic diseases. So when you have, and we like to believe that when somebody makes it rich, when Kanye became a billionaire, when Jay-Z became a billionaire, when these Black celebrities get all this fucking money, they're exempt from being Black. All the shit that afflicts, cause brokenness ain't the fucking only problem. The lack of fiat currency is not our only problem. So Black people get rich, but they still Black people. What did the book, The Spook Who Sat by the Door, what did the protagonist say to his friend? What do they call a Black man in a suit? A nigga. So Black people get rich, but then we still see the loved ones, the family members of of the black people we aspire, the hashtag goal, black people and their loved ones suffering the same ailments and afflictions that burden the rest of us. I got an uncle, 6 foot, dark-skinned, ebony black man, died at 50. Heart gave out on him. They found him, laid out in his apartment. My Uncle Kurt. And if I had some money, if I had a name out there, if I was on and popping, they'd be like, oh, Lo Diallo sacrificed his uncle. But since I'm a nobody, he's a black man, died of acute cardiac arrest. He had an undiagnosed heart problem, addiction issues, hypertension. And so when wealthy black people go through the same shit we go through because we believe because they're rich, they're exempt from blackness, or they have a different outcome of blackness because they're rich, their family, their loved ones, their intimate partners can't go through what we go through. And we believe that when we get rich, we won't have to suffer that same shit. So this Illuminati blood sacrifice shit is really on so many levels a form of class unconsciousness, a class treason. So when you see the loved ones and close, they getting shot, they having chronic disease and premature death, and just because they're public and famous, and somebody could be sitting there and see a wealthy celebrity or a prominent Negro's family member go through the same shit your own family member go through, and for your family, oh, she had the sugar. Oh, she didn't, she just didn't, they misdiagnosed her. She went to the emergency room and they just left her there. Or if it's a rich person, oh, Illuminati blood sacrifice. That points more to our own fallacies about what it means to have money and what money can do for us as a people. And it really points to the delusions y'all have about wealthy black people, and in terms of them being able to be above or being exempt or being able to buy themselves or buy their family and loved ones out of the conditions. It's not Illuminati blood sacrifices. These celebrities be losing their loved ones and intimate partners for the same reason y'all do. Serena Williams almost died giving birth to her baby. And I'm sure that would have just drove a lot of these conspiratorial lunatics, these paranoid lunatics, in a tizzy. Her white husband that sacrificed her, blah, blah, blah. And right up the street, your local county hospital are killing black women and has higher maternity rates, and you don't say shit. You don't even care. Can't get you to sign a petition or come to a rally. But Serena dies, and it would have been all over the place. Jay-Z seems to understand that. When Beyonce was giving birth to her children, they rented a whole wing of a hospital. They brought in specialists for all over the world. And y'all might be thinking, well, that's just because they balling. That's not balling. It's because for many black women, pregnancy is a death sentence, an involuntary death sentence. And it ain't even about the money, because you go to other places where women of color, African women of African descent, have much lower economic status, poverty. You know, the midwife who delivered our second child, the midwife who delivered our first child, she trained in Haiti. The midwife who delivered our second child trained in Senegal. And they talked about working in the so-called third world underdeveloped countries, and how women here, surrounded by technology and wealth, are at higher risk of dying themselves or losing their offspring. And it's really understanding all that to prevent black women from being able to secure abortions. And I can't get into that. All I'm saying is this Illuminati blood sacrifice is really showing disdain and absurdist level of vicariousism and elevating black minstrels and ball chasers to levels that they don't belong. Let's go on to the next thing. This whole population reduction. They want to reduce the population. They want abortion is genocide. They want to reduce the population. Now, Populations in certain regions and in certain times do. But the real agenda of the elites is not to reduce population. And I know this is going to, y'all hear people like Prince Charles and Bill Gates, who I'm going to get to a little later, talk about, well, the world is overpopulated. The world is not overpopulated. The planet has enough physical space and produce enough material resources to fully house, clothe, and feed every single human being on the planet, and have another left over for another 10 billion more. The problem with the Earth's resources is not there's an inadequate amount. This is called the Malthusian philosophy. Malthus is disproven. There's a book called The Legend of Malthus that feeds a lot of this. But anyway, all I want to tell you is their agenda, and the problem with focusing on population reduction, it causes people to intensify, especially on women, oppression. If you believe in the conspiracy that they want to reduce the global population, the first thing that many of these people do is not go attack those who want to reduce population. There's people out here who really believe that the Council on Foreign Relations, the UN, the CDC wants to reduce the human population. And do you think they pick up a gun and go kick in the door of the CDC? Do you think they run up on a stage at the UN and snatch the UN chairman or bomb the? No. What do they do? They start to repress women's reproductive rights. They literally try to reduce women to incubators. They only start to value women based on their reproductive capacity. So somebody's trying to reduce population, and you never see them, the people who talk this shit, you never see them attack the population reducers. They only attack and target the baby havers. And they turn women into breeding stock. That is their solution. They don't even try to create an environment that is more conducive to the birthing and development of children. You notice the same people that talk this, they try to reduce population. Those people don't support paid leave for mothers. They don't promote universal health care. They don't promote housing rights. They don't promote the cessation of carbon emission and destruction of ecosystems. They don't promote immigration and refugees and relief for refugees. They don't support the only solution to population reduction, which is a fallacy, which isn't demonstrated, is turning women, taking away women's reproductive rights, and demanding that every woman that you have access to become an incubator, a living incubator with no rights and no autonomy over her body. So this whole population reduction conspiracy harms vulnerable people in the society. And then they also attack the gay, lesbian, transgender, because those people, gays don't have babies. As if they don't. I had to talk to some of my gay friends, like, you gay, what you doing with an offspring? Gay people don't have babies because they're promoting homosexuality. You destroy it. And here's another thing. Here's another thing. There's been a lot of genocides in the past, and there are genocides going on right now. But let me tell you one thing about genocide. No genocider is going to, and let me tell you one thing. They've been talking this population reduction since really the books that I have that I'm going to show you, been saying it since the 50s, since before the baby boom. And if these insidious Illuminati, Bill Gates billionaires want to reduce the population, they fucking suck. Because population has gone up exponentially and is still rising up. And the places that like the so-called third world, Africa, not only has the youngest population in the world, has the quickest expanding population. Remember when Oprah Winfrey was saying the AIDS is AIDS is here to destroy and depopulate the world, and the AIDS hotspots like Haiti, Oprah Winfrey said on her show, Haiti is going to be the first country that is completely depopulated by the AIDS virus. None of those projections are coming through. So even if there was King Charles wants to reduce the population, they suck at it. It's so fucking bad. It's and so you don't even have to fight them against them because they're failing statistically, numerically. And the raw data shows that human population is not only increasing, but projected to increase. So reducing global population. The real agenda is, and they ignore what's really happening, population exploitation. They want to reduce human populations, human individuals to production units and consumers. They want to displace populations from lands that they have interest in. But a lot of this, they want to reduce the global population, is more about controlling and demonizing women than it is about fighting against genocide. And many of the books that talk about the UN Agenda 2000, reduce global population, and I know that's hard for y'all to hear because Black people, we're under genocide. But go read what genocide means. Genocide does not mean extermination. Go read the UN Convention on Genocide and see what they mean by that. I ain't even gonna get into it because y'all know more about population reduction than I do, apparently. So you come and tell me what genocide and define what genocide means. And what are the techniques for genocide? And what does not qualify as genocide? Giving women access to abortion and the ability to determine their reproductive rates has never been on the list, but I digress. I'm just telling y'all that's another conspiracy. The microchip / mark of the beast. Oh shit, what time is it? Oh, 1 hour in. Okay, we're gonna try to speed run through this because I got a little shit to do. The microchip and mark of the beast thing, where it's like, oh, you get a vaccination or you get a shot, they want to microchip you. First of all, as far as I know, and no one's presented evidence, such technology doesn't exist. Number two, even if the microchipping technology existed, why would they have to microchip you to track you? When you carry the micro, you pay. Why would they secretly, why would they insidiously, why would they conspire to put a microchip in your arm? And do you know how much? That's like nanotech. That's very expensive. Why would they need to do that when we go out and pay hundreds and thousands of dollars and carry around our own microchip tracking device? When we give them metadata voluntarily on a daily basis, it's just irrational. And the thing is, evil people still can behave in a logical manner. There's a logic to evil, just like there's a logic to justice. And it just doesn't make sense. The mark of the beast. Now that, what is it? Amazon Whole Foods has a hand scanner where you can scan your hand, your phone has a scanner, face scanner, and everybody, mark of the beast. Here's the thing that everybody who believes that the mark of the beast and believes in prophecy. Here's the thing about that. If you read your goddamn Bible, if you read the dispensations, if you read the last day prophecy, the mark of the beast is not the issue. In order to receive the mark of the beast, it is not, if you read the text and the mythology and the folklore, the mark of the beast is not the issue. The issue is you have to renounce God to receive the mark of the beast. So the last day, the Antichrist is not going to go to people to secretly trick them into getting the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast is you have to come to the Antichrist to request it. And the Antichrist will demand that you renounce God and proclaim your fealty to Satan. And then and only then will you receive the mark of the beast. And if you look at a lot of the last days movies, they understand this because they have some of the remaining Christian, the remaining faithful that want to buy food or engage in commerce. They have like an artificial mark of the beast because they didn't denounce God and say that they have fealty for the Antichrist or Satan. So they don't have a legitimate, like there's an underground market of the mark of the beast because the mark of the beast, take it or leave it. The real problem with the mark of the beast is not that you have something in your hand or forehead or some mark. The mark of the beast is supposed to signify that you have professed publicly that you denounce God, Jesus Christ, and you have accepted Satan as the sovereign of Earth. So everybody out here conspiratorially saying they're trying to sneak the mark of the beast or trying to trick you into the mark of the beast, that is inconsistent with prophecy. That is inconsistent with the own bullshit biblical accounts. So the mark of the beast, and they trying to microchip us. And I promise you, if they do have some type of microchipping technology, they're not going to force you to take it or sneak it. What they're going to do is market it and sell it. And they're going to have Beyonce and have with her diamond crusted microchip. They're going to show Jay-Z or Deion Sanders walk up to his Maybach Benz and wave his hands, and the door opens and the shit starts. If the microchips do come, they're going to have you lined up around the corner like they got y'all for iPhones, like they got y'all for the latest Jordans, not even the latest Jordans. They just re-released the Jordans from 1986, and y'all line up for that. The mark of the beast is not going to be something they have to sneak up behind you and stab you in the ass and inject it. I promise you. I promise you, the same people, because remember what they said about cashless society. All of the conspiracy theories you said they were like the gold standard. Back in the day, the conspiracy people were like, we need to get back on the gold standard. Fiat currency is the end of the world. They used to say credit cards were the mark of the beast. And the same people back in the 90s that were crying about the cashless society and not only saying cash is bad, they were saying we got to go back to gold and silver, are the same people that were promoting cryptocurrency. These conspiracy people are inconsistent as they are irrational. Another conspiracy, and I have to hurry, is the framing of successful black men. They're back when I was a little bit younger, there was a whole thing about they trying to bring down the mics. Mike Tyson was in trouble because he was accused, tried, and convicted for sexual assault. Michael Jordan was in trouble because Michael Jordan was called to be gambling and violating the rules and standards and ethics of the NBA. And at that same time, Michael Jackson was in trouble because we all know about his child essay or child molesting charges. And so they were like, three of the most prominent and powerful black men, I don't know where the powerful came from, but the most prominent black men in America are all being attacked by the system. And they were like, they're trying to bring down the mics, the holy trinity of mics. And I would sit back and be like, well, where's the evidence? And if there was a conspiracy, like if the system wanted to bring me down, they sure enough ain't gonna have my participation and insistence. And so many black men, as long as you're successful and make money, can engage in any level of treason against the black masses, insult black people to our faces, bond and give aid and comfort to the enemies of black people. But as long as you get rich by any means necessary, then you can fall and run that hustle. Kanye ran the hustle. We fall for it. R. Kelly ran the hustle. Now, if you're a poor black man, if you work at McDonald's and you are charged with assault, you are charged with engaging in illegal gambling, you are charged with any type of crime, it's not to bring you down. The system is not conspiring against you. You just a no good nigga. You just a broke ass. You a hotep, you crusty, you ashy. But if a wealthy man has a lot of fiat and a prominent status and he gets charged with the exact same crime, all of a sudden the system's conspiring to bring him down. And what's most ironic about that is the very system that lifted them up, because the black community didn't get them. In fact, they didn't want nothing to do with us. Like I say all the time, Michael Jackson wanted nothing to do with black people. He spent his entire adult life running from and shunning anything black. Not just his own African features and African hair texture, but like Del Jones said, Michael Jackson could have had his pick of any black woman in the world, but he chose to stand under the armpit of Elizabeth Taylor. The only thing he did halfway black was participate in that whole "we are the world" bullshit, which all the money that was supposed to go to the famine in Ethiopia was stolen. He was going to Croatian and Bosnian orphanages. And as soon as Mike got into some trouble, what'd I say? He's standing there with Al Sharpton. He's standing there with what's his name? He's standing there with Nation of Islam security. He's going and showing up at concerts, coming out on stage with Jay-Z. Oh, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. Time to act black until I get out of trouble. When OJ was in trouble, bringing down OJ. OJ got invited to the Million Man March. OJ didn't want nothing to do with black people, especially poor and working class black people. And so this whole concept of bring down black men, let me tell you something about a brought down black man. The moment a black man separates, a prominent black man betrays the black masses, that's when he's brought down. Y'all missed the mark. He ain't brought down when he's brought up on charges. OJ wasn't brought down when he got exposed as a serial rapist. OJ was brought down the moment he started attacking and victim blaming the black masses. Jordan wasn't brought down when he was brought up on illegal gambling charges and forced to pretend to retire from the NBA and go play baseball before he got into some real trouble. And Jordan also had the Illuminati blood sacrifice of his father bullshit. Jordan was brought down the moment he conspired with Nike to sell sweatshop shoes made for $16 and turn shoes from a fun little thing we used to be into sneakers, children's sneakers, into high-end commodities that black children were being robbed and assaulted and murdered for. That's when he was brought down. I don't say these black men do go down, but we forget. We don't call black men being falling from grace when they betray the community. We say black men fall from grace when they run afoul of their white masters, which is disrespecting us, showing a level of class treason within the working class masses. Effeminization conspiracy. They want to effeminize black men. And there is this idea that masculine black men, heterosexual, alpha black men are the frontline fighting force. And so the white system wants to feminize us and make us scary, make us girly, which, despite the sexism, if we look at the stats of these alpha males, the primary target of many of these hyper aggressive macho black men are other black men and other people within the community. So why would I have to effeminize black men when the primary targets of black male aggression is other black men? And it's really weird to these people who believe that there's a conspiracy to feminize black men. They ignore Expendables. They ignore the Call of Duty video games, the Y2K, the NFL, billion-dollar budget, UFC. They ignore all of this masculine media. And every time Lil Nas X shows up on the red carpet, these alpha males post it everywhere, all over the internet. Every time some NBA player shows up at a pregame or walks that hallway to the locker room in some funny ass fuchsia colored fairy suit, they post it everywhere. Every time prom season comes around and some young man wears a dress to prom, they post it everywhere. And they ignore the fact that you gotta say, for media that appeals to black men, for every effeminized or queer image of black men that is on the web, there are literally thousands. So if media imagery could effeminize you, how is not Expendables movies, Call of Duty video games, the billion-dollar NFL macho hyper-masculine media, why isn't that butching out the queer boys? It doesn't even make sense. We win as a heterosexual, cisgendered black man. As far as media, most of the media speaks to and appeals to me, to the point that it's not even visible to the average heterosexual alpha male. They don't even see the affirming images, billboards, big muscle cars on billboards. We don't even see the affirmations because it's like fish in water. It's everywhere. We only see when our delusion is disturbed. We see so much manly man shit that the moment Lil Nas X gets on a stripper pole, we're like, whoa. We don't, because it's when our little cozy nest of manhood is disrupted by by LeBron wearing a dress or a wig, we be like, it's the end of the fucking world. So if there is a conspiracy to feminize men, and also you look statistically at males who identify as queer because their presence, like, we really think that these gay people, these queer people, these transgender people have all this power when they are just being exploited by the media. And many people from the gay liberation struggle realize rainbows at Disney and gay characters and movies and queering established characters. I've been reading the X-Men since the 80s. And at one time, I think Iceman said he was gay, and Beastman, or Beast, just Beast, not Beastman, it's not his name. Beastman is He-Man. But Beast said he was gay. And a lot of comic book readers were like, holy shit, they're just ramming this in. Of course they're going to ram it in. They do that for everything. They get focus groups and say, well, young people are more open to divergent sexual identities and gender presentations. The young people are more open to that. So we're going to put that in our products. They don't give a shit about the gays. They give a shit about their profit and bottom line. And the moment it becomes popular to repress or attack them, they will turn on them. Just like they did with black people. There was a time in the United States in the 50s where you didn't see no black man on media unless he was a shoe shine or a milk delivery man. And then here comes the black exploitation of black people with afros and leather jackets all over the TV. And white people did the same thing we doing when we see gay people on TV. This is an affront. This is a threat to our way of life. They're forcing black men on us, black people on us. This is capitalism. This is propaganda, yes. But you're attacking the wrong people. You should be united with the gays and say, hey, they're exploiting you like they exploited us. Who was around back in the Latin explosion during the what they call it, the living La Vida Loca era. Everything Latin was marketable, and they put it everywhere. Sombreros all over the Target or and Walmart. And less than a generation later, they're literally shooting Latin people at the southern border and taking Latin refugees and dumping them at the doorstep of politicians, treating them like human refuse. So just because corporations that were selling us the Latin explosion, Ricky Martin couldn't escape them. We all living La Vida Loca and doing the Macarena and eating tapas and shit. And the same corporations that will use your culture, use your image, will profit from elevating and selling your imagery and your culture, will also profit from the genocide imposed on you and the discrimination and atrocities committed against you. And they'll do the gay people the same way. While we sitting here talking about, the media's trying to feminize it. I can't get into QAnon. Let me pick this up. The conspiracy of welfare to remove the black man from the home. Soros and Bill Gates, as if they're the only two. And here's my only problem with people targeting Soros and Bill Gates. Number one, they ignore the larger number of right-wing billionaires funding right-wing conspiracies, number one. Number two, the same people that hate Bill Gates and hate George Soros don't hate the capitalist system that allows them to exist. Don't you know if Bill Gates died tomorrow, his children will inherit his wealth in the billionaire system? So you have to eliminate the status of billionaires. You can't just wait for bad billionaires to pop up and attack them. You have to eliminate the status of billionaire. If you hate what Bill Gates is doing, buying up all our land and putting these goddamn weird ass vegan Franken foods on the market, I don't like that shit either. I don't eat no Impossible Burger. I've been a vegan for 30 years. Don't give me no Impossible Burger. Invite me to the barbecue. Don't give me no Beyond Meat. I don't want none of that hemoglobin vegan food. Fuck that shit. But I hate all billionaires. Number one. Number two, I will target the billionaires and their insidious use of power, but I also target the capitalist system. If you ain't anti-capitalism, Please shut the fuck up about George Soros, Bill Gates, or any other rich man, and Jeffrey Epstein. Y'all act like they the only billionaires, and y'all ignore all the other ones. Weirdos. Sovereign citizen and black aboriginal. Another conspiracy that we're the true Indians, but the white man doesn't want us to know about it. As if he wouldn't have, if he did come here and find, people, Africans, or find black people with my phenotype already here, he's like, oh, instead of killing these people, I'm just going to lie and tell them they came from Africa and kill them. And then I'm going to get other people who aren't native to this land and pretend like they're native to the land and genocide them. Why the fuck? It doesn't even make sense. But I ain't going through this list. I'm tired of talking about this shit. I'm starting to get a headache. All I want to say is conspiracies are very real, but you can't allow conspiracies to suspend your critical thinking. You don't just apply critical thinking and critique to things you disagree with. You also have to apply critical thinking and critique with things you also agree with. I agree that there's a campaign of genocide. I agree that there are insidious secret agendas being carried out against my community. I believe that there are grand lies and falsehoods being promoted and sold to us. I agree with that. But anytime somebody comes and say, this is a lie, this is with the white man, this and that, I'm not going to buy it. I still have to critique things that I agree with. So if somebody comes and says, here's an evil, I'm against the government, and here's an evil government agenda. I'm against the government too, and I'm just going to swallow wholesale whatever you tell me the government's doing bad. I still have to say, well, I don't like Biden. I didn't vote for Biden in the past presidential cycle. I'm not voting for Biden in the next presidential cycle. And I don't support Biden. I don't support his administration. Same thing for Trump. I hate Trump's guts. I didn't vote for him before. I won't vote for him. I won't vote for either of the major party candidacy because I don't support them. I will vote. I will vote Green Party or some alternative candidate, or I will write in a candidate. But just because I don't like Biden doesn't mean that you come and tell me Biden's eating Biden is eating is consuming adrenochrome, and Biden is kidnapping children all over America and then extracting their adrenaline and extracting their adrenal glands and consuming it for eternal youth. Biden's going to Bohemian Grove and bathing in the blood of virgins. I'm like, fuck that shit. Now, if you come and tell me Biden and his administration are illegally withholding funds of the Iranian government, Biden is sending more so-called foreign aid to Haiti with the true agenda of destabilizing and maintaining colonial control over the Haitian government and the Haitian people, I'm like, that's true. But this other bullshit, even though I don't like you, that's the thing, even if I don't like you, I'm not just going to swallow hook, line, and sinker anything somebody tells me about you. We have to apply critical thinking to the things we agree with even more intensely than we do the things we don't agree with. If we do not, and the reason we have to do that is because even though there are things we don't agree with and we want to counteract those things, we have to properly understand the things that we oppose in order to construct appropriate actions to prevent, reverse, or undermine those things. So if you are against the Biden administration, but you don't understand, you think you have to stop Biden from taking the adrenal glands from kidnapped children, as opposed to stopping Biden from expanding the military-industrial complex and subverting sovereignty of West and Central African nations. So you have to understand that I'm not even going to say it again. What I want to do now, before I open up for questions, comments, and criticism, is show you to show you that I'm not exempt from this. I'm not exempt from this. Sorry. I mean, I was just looking at my bookshelf, and I didn't even bring all my books upstairs to show you. But I was looking at my bookshelf, and I have more shitty conspiracy books than I thought I had. But let's just run them down. These are shitty conspiracy books. The shitty conspiracy. This isn't all of them. I know I'm going to leave some now. I know, like Behold a Pale Horse and those other books. But these are the books that articulate conspiracies, right-wing conspiracies that talk about insidious agendas that don't hold the muster, right? So I want to give you an example of shitty conspiracy theories or what is truly paranoid delusions versus right-wing conspiracy theories versus revolutionary analysis and revolutionary conspiracies, right? So I'm gonna get bad. This is bad conspiracy theories. And I'm gonna show you the good conspiracy shit, you know. And remember, there's a lot of conspiracy theories are like exposing hidden agendas, exposing hidden truths or unknown truths, rewriting or correcting distorted or lies about history, making predictions about what is coming down the pipeline, trying to explain or analyze the rationale of elite and powerful people, right? So conspiracy manifests in several different ways, right? So let's start. And I just went on my shelf. I literally just scanned my bookshelf and bought some books. And I just, after I got it, I'm like, this is a lot of fucking books. And I don't want to put all these books back on the shelves. So I stopped. I have more books than I'm almost ashamed about how many shitty right-wing conspiracy books I have. I'm almost ashamed. Here's one. The Revolt of the Masses, written by Gazette. Revolt of the Masses says that working class, poor people, communists rising up to take over society will lead to barbarism. So masses, basically this book says that the revolt of the masses is the worst thing that can happen, and people, the elite people, have to make sure that everyone stays in their place. And the conspiracy that it's talking about is that the communists and the other people who are trying to rise up are negative. So the people, the peasants, the workers, the labor unions who want to have a say in governance, who want to take and own the means of production, is a catastrophe. That we have no right to power. We have no right to take the resources from the capitalists, from the monarchs, from the elites. This is a book of conservatism that promotes conservatism and promotes the status quo, and says that anybody talking about people power, power to the people, communist socialism is literally a beast, savage, uncivilized, and that the only thing keeping us from tearing each other apart like animals is the fact that we are governed by the higher men. Bill Gates, this guy predates Bill Gates, but he would support like Bill Gates remaining in power and other high-strewn, high-thinking men. The IRS conspiracy. This kind of shit gets black people locked up. And this whole thing that the IRS is unconstitutional and talking all this shit about taxation. And again, I have a lot of issues with the IRS. But these type of conspiracies, or talking about these type of conspiracies, a lot of, you know who got caught up in this shit? Wesley Snipes. You know, that's that song, Black Steel in the Hour of Chaos. So when people are exposing the conspiracies and advocating for actions that could get you fucked up with no real impact on the system, they're not telling you in your favor. So Wesley Snipes got locked up for tax evasion because he got caught up into a lot of these conspiracies and also sovereign citizen rhetoric and mythology. But this is another right-wing conspiracy. So if you're going to oppose the IRS, if you're going to be a tax protester and say, hey, I'm going to withhold my taxes, because there are people out there that do that, but they do it based on, because their tax dollars, instead of going for infrastructure, going for mass transit, going for healthcare, they oppose it because their tax dollars are going to war and funding the war machine. So you can oppose taxation from a right-wing perspective, and you can oppose taxation from a left-wing perspective. If you oppose taxation from a left-wing perspective, you are good, you're doing the right thing, and I support you. If you are opposing taxes from a libertarian perspective, which books like this do, libertarianism, you are a right-winger, and you are part of the problem, not part of the solution. You are the villain of this story, not the hero. Bring homosexuality and the feminization of black males. I read this book when my sons were very young because I didn't want my sons to be feminized. And there's a line in this book, they want to turn our sons into their daughters. So I read this book. I was in California and I read this whole book in like 2 days. And because I had a lot of time on my hands just sitting around California. Beautiful, beautiful Death Valley. Tax laws don't fund. So this is another conspiracy book. Yes, I know y'all love this dude and y'all be mad at me, but I can't even go. Another bad right-wing conspiracism. I had to get this one. My grandmother bought me this Bible and I've read it through. It's all beat up and stained up. I actually read the Bible, which is why I am an atheist. I've never met an atheist who wasn't well versed in the religions they reject. But this is the king of all conspiracy text. This shit right here. But I'll never get rid of this Bible because my late grandma Sonetta, who raised me and my siblings and kept us out of the foster care system. I ain't gonna read y'all what she wrote in here because I don't want to start crying on the air. I've already done enough damage to my alpha male status, but my grandmother bought me this Bible when I was 12 years old, and the first book that I read was Proverbs. You know, but anyway, thank you, Grandma Sonetta, for this Bible. And yes, this is the king of all conspiracy books, bullshit conspiracy books. Last day prophecy, the rapture. There's a rapture website that's like the rapture's about to happen any day now. But anyway, the Bible, this guy, Leonard G. Horowitz, I've met this guy a couple of times when I was going to gun shows in the 90s. Death in the air, emerging viruses, AIDS and Ebola, globalism and terrorism and toxic warfare. This shit. Now you look at this and be like, yeah, you know, they got emerging viruses, nature accident, or intentional, there's death in the air, and oh, it's bad. But this guy's solution to these problems that he claims is more capitalism, libertarian, unregulated capitalism. Leonard G. Horowitz, Tetrahedron. This is more bad. Did I get him to sign one of these books? So I'm just telling you, I'm not talking about conspiracy as an outsider. I'm talking about this as a person who's read all the big conspiracy books, who's gone to lectures, who's talked to some of the authors and engaged with the conspiracy movement since as long as I've been involved with the liberation struggle. I'm not new to this bullshit. I read both of these stupid ass books. You know, so this book, I've never been a right wing. Here's another OG classic, The International Jew by Henry Ford, another conspiratorial, utter nonsense book. And I'm reading this book like, the fuck? Henry Ford, the racist Nazi Henry Ford. Another bad conspiratorial book. Here's another shitty one. Oh, this is another OG book, Conspirators, Hierarchy, Oh God, I'm sick of showing these books. I mean, I really need to find a better hobby. I need to stop reading in general because sometimes I read some real bullshit. Conspirators, Hierarchy, the story of the Committee of 300, bullshit. Let's get some more black books. Let me dig through a couple of more black books. The Truth About Black Biblical Hebrew Israelites. Got all this Hebrew Israelite culture, the secret relationship between blacks and Jews, the Nation of Islam. These are more conspiracy books, bullshit that got black people fucked up in the game. And it's, but let me just keep going. I can't even get it. And it's not just, I can't, shit. I'm embarrassed. I'm gonna stop pulling up books. because I'm embarrassed. But it's not just conspiracy books aren't just these self-published obscure books. There are a lot of mainstream. Let me pull up a mainstream conspiracy book. Guns, Germs, and Steel by Jared Diamond. This is some bullshit too, but it's a New York Times bestseller, hardcover by a UCLA scholar. Oh, this book, I'm like, this is some bullshit. This book basically says white people took over the world by accident. You know, you really can't blame white people. It's the diseases and smelting steel and you know, the weather, the climate. Like, white people didn't take over the world because they deliberately and intentionally chose to colonize and commit genocide on every populated landmass. That's not the reason for white victory. And it's not even really a bad thing. And we can't really hold white people accountable for committing genocide on every continent on the face of the earth and continuing and sustaining genocidal policies and economic systems. Oops a daisy. This is a conspiratorial book, but this is a Pulitzer Prize winning mainstream book. So it ain't just these obscure little weird paperbacks. Conspiracy books and bullshit right-wing conspiracism can be found almost anywhere you look, where people are talking about history, talking about government policy, talking about agendas and here's another book I just got. I've been wanting this book for quite some time, but I was like, I just can't bring myself to pay for the book, and I never really had an opportunity to steal it. And it's like $20-$30 book, but I saw it at a used bookstore in Kansas City, owned by an acquaintance of my wife. And I'm like, oh, let's get it. And so my wife and I read literally when we're having some red wine or sipping oatmeal latte. Yeah, I'm gonna work oatmeal lattes into this discussion area. But we sit and just open up any chapter and read and start cracking the fuck up. This is a conspiratorial book. Again, this is well bound and published book, A Patriot's History of the United States. And it was written as a counter to Howard Zinn's book, A People's History of the United States, which is a good book. I like that book. If you listen to the Bro Diallo broadcast, you hear me talk about it all the time. But this book is pseudo history. Conspiratorial history is nonsense. If you know the truth, if you don't know real history and you haven't studied real scholarship, don't fuck with this book. It'll make you dumber, or make you dumb if you're not dumb. But if you know history and you're not vulnerable to this kind of bullshit propaganda, this book literally is a comedy. This is a book, if I was literally trying to write, like, pretend to be a racist idiot and read, like, if Trump was literate enough to write a book, he'd write some shit like this. And my wife and I will be sitting downstairs on the couch, and we'll be, you know, like I said, talking to her, and we'll just pull out this book and I'll read to her some paragraphs. And I've never read the book all the way through. We just open to almost any page, read paragraphs, and be like, this is some bullshit. And that's the last book I'm gonna pull, because I'm a little embarrassed about how many bullshit conspiratorial books are in my library. And if we ever get around to book burning in the revolution, I'll be able to make some real contributions. But I do keep the books around for reference, and I don't even know why. I pay for the motherfuckers. I'm just a book hoarder. But those books are trash. But let me show you some good conspiratorial books. Books that reveal secrets, books that may give us clarification, a book that looks behind the veil to see who the Wizard of Oz truly is. This book was already on my desk because I was referring for somewhere else, but The Culture of Fear. This is a book that talks about what is right in our face, but we don't see. This is real scholarship. It exposes real propaganda, real agendas that are not on the surface. This is real conspiracy theory. This is real analysis. This is real theory based on legitimate hypothesis and data, research, and evidence. Conspiracy, left-leaning, progressive scholarship, The Culture of Fear. The Plague Makers, The Secret World of Biological Warfare. Another respectable effort at telling people what they are hiding from us. Right? I'm just going through it. Now, I don't like this book because it is a right-wing book, but the person who wrote this was a military scholar. That's the thing they don't understand. When you get a lot of black people, you do all this talking and debating. You do all this talking. I'm about action. If you're truly a revolutionary, you can't call yourself a revolutionary unless you, and it ain't got to be formal. You ain't got to enroll in nobody's university or program. You have to be scholarly if you want to be revolution. Revolution is a scholarly endeavor. If you study revolutions, you will learn about the intellectual, social, cultural, ideological labor that comes long before the Molotov cocktails. So this guy is a right-winger. He is a right-wing scholar. And he draws right-wing conclusions based on legitimate evidence. But I respect his analysis, even though I don't agree with his conclusions. So I initially was in trouble. I was going to have a pile of bad conspiracy theory books, good conspiracy theory books, and neutral or middle of the road, but I was just like, fuck it. It's too much. I'm tired. But Civil War II, The Coming Breakup of America. This is a relatively decent book that has some decent analysis and honest, painful conclusions about the potential for the deterioration of the United States and the potential for race, ethnic enclave and race-based conflict. You know. But like I said, he is a right-winger, but you got to give credit where credit is due. I gotta say it, The Columbus Conspiracy. This is another conspiracy book, but it's written by the author of the Iceman's Inheritance, and the foreword is written by the late great Dr. John Henry Clark. This is rewriting or correcting a lot of historical myths that we believe about the founding of the New World, or Christopher Columbus and who he truly was and his true impact. He's not so. The Columbus Conspiracy. Now, some people might say this is outdated because, we all know about Columbus now. We tearing down Columbus statue. We're calling Columbus Day Indigenous Peoples Day, but it's still a good read for the people who are still caught up in the Columbus. John Perkins, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, another conspiratorial book talking about insidious, unseen agendas that is based on real scholarship, first-hand accounts. Another good conspiracy book, a left-wing conspiracy book. Black Holocaust 2000 by the late great Nana Kuntu, Dale Jones, the war correspondent. Another book that's talking about insidious agendas. And again, you might say it's a little dated. It's literally Black Holocaust 2000, but a sign of good Black revolutionary Pan-African. Another book, Chalmers Johnson. He has a series of books. I got like 3 of them. He has a whole series of these books, Sorrows of Empire, talking about the insidious agenda, basically exposing America, which we know America's not going overseas to spread democracy. So Nemesis, and you get a lot of books about the fall of America. The Nation of Islam puts out these books about the fall of America, telling us that Allah is going to bring about the downfall of America, some divine intervention. But this book really lays out the last days of the American Republic, and it's very accurate. This is another right-winger. He's another right-winger. So there's 2 right-wing books. So even though I don't like the person, I respect the scholarship if it's on point. Let's do a couple more and move on. Yeah, I ain't gonna put this one up. Message in a Bottle, a 40-ounce scandal. Message in a Bottle is about symbols, insidious symbols written into it. So even symbology and analyzing symbols and the trying to draw interpretation. So even in that type of arena, which I really don't mess around in. People out here breaking down when Beyonce or the Rockefeller symbol and symbology and analysis of symbols. You can have reactionary right-wing analysis, or you can have left-wing progressive Pan-African pro-Blackness. So Message in a Bottle, that talks about the alcohol industry's targeting of Black people. So I would say this is a good conspiracy theory book. This guy talks that he's exposed everything. This is one of the best. We talk about we don't like snitches. But let me tell you something. White snitches, we should get high five the white. But white folks that tell on us. Greg Palast is probably one of the old school, what they used to call them gumshoes, like an investigative reporter that you don't have anymore. You ever see those old Cagney, James Cagney, and those old black and white gangster movies from the 50s, and they'd have some intrepid journalist with the press tag in his derby hat or whatever, and he's got a trench coat and he's in the corner with a notepad. This is an old school journalist. I actually had a chance to meet him, but I missed my opportunity to meet him at the Green Fest a few years ago. But Greg Palast, he writes, this is just one of many of his books, but he talks about the government conspiracies and electoral conspiracies that's based in real journalism. So this is another conspiracy book, Armed Madhouse. One more. Let's just do one more. I got all these. I don't gotta put all these damn books back before my wife gets home. I don't know if she's home or not. I hope she is, but I gotta put all this shit back. I'm not doing this again. I'm not gonna bring more than 3 or 4 books out if I have to bring any. Lies Across America. James Lowen is another good, but that's that. So I'm not just saying conspiracy theories are illegitimate or conspiracy theories are bad. We just have to know that they are evidence-based, rational, and leftist conspiracies, not right-wing reactionary conspiracies. There's so much more I could say, but I'm opening this up. Questions, comments, criticisms. I know some of y'all got in a tizzy when I said that the population reduction was not an Illuminati reduced human population thing. Wasn't a thing. So if y'all want to get into it, if you think I dissed some conspiracies or conspiracy theorists that didn't deserve it, if you think some of the good conspiracy theorists and texts that I put up are unworthy, or if you think I missed or run and recommend some texts of your own, do the thing. But while we're at that, you can support Black Power Media. Where's the thing? All these things are specified. Support Black Power Media, but I don't see the thing. Support our endeavors. Oh, you can subscribe. I think that worked. Click like and subscribe on Black Power Media. I got my first jump in. Okay, lead. You're live. Hello. Lead. Say something.
Hey, good evening. Yeah, hey.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Bro. Yeah, I hear you.
Hey, good evening. Great show. Great show. Peace and blessings. Great show. Two quick questions pertaining to the topic. First question is, what is your take on the Georgia Guidestones?
Hello?
Yes. Yeah, did you hear me? Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I just put on some headphones to avoid the background noise. But
Okay.
I think they're a hoax.
Okay. That's it. Just think it's a hoax. You
Nothing
think somebody
more, a hoax.
so like an independent person just built them and then they just tore them down?
It's a hoax.
Okay.
Whole hoax.
Okay.
A
So
whole big lie.
all right. So next question. I'm sure you saw the rounds made with Bill Gates. I'm gonna paraphrase it when he was talking about. He said something about like vaccines, and then he said basically we have to get the population down something with the vaccines. It seemed like he said something along those lines. Do you think he misspoke when he said that, or what's your take on that?
No, I don't think he misspoke. He didn't talk about trying to reduce the population in that particular comment. I think it's been misconstrued. He actually spoke on it and said, no, I didn't say it, that I want to reduce the population, and that's not what I meant when I was quoted. And I think if you go back and listen to the whole quote, which I don't have available and I'm just not interested in looking up, if you look at the entire statement and not just the isolated portion, I think you'll see that he didn't say that we need to, or that he wanted to reduce the world population. But even if that was his agenda, he's failing at it miserably. Can we agree to that? Yeah, Lead is the caller. I'm sorry if you can't say Lead is on with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. So yeah, a great show. I think you was spot on. You hit the bullseye. My personal opinion is I think that unfortunately a lot of people, specifically black people, fall for a lot of these things because, in my opinion, it's easier to dismiss it and not deal with these things, right? So it's easy to say like, oh yeah, it's a conspiracy theory, and then not think about it and not have to deal with the actual truth and reality of what's going on, which is some of the things that you
Absolutely.
actually explained. So yeah, great show, brother. Thank you.
I
Thank you for
appreciate
your analysis. All right.
All right. Until next time. All right. I got Don coming on and Michael Lewis. Hold on. You're next. So please hold on. What's up, Don?
Uhuru, Diallo, what you got going?
Hoorah, bro. I'm just
Uh,
sitting here.
so I'm
Wait,
sitting,
just hanging around. like
man.
that meme with Beetlejuice. Who, me? Nothing. Hanging around. What's up,
Hey,
bro?
so I'm over here. I gotta take. I'm up for the plantation. I gotta take these little U.S. history courses, and I'm over here writing an essay about the Mexican American War as an episode of gun violence, and it led me to that manifest destiny, and ultimately what it led me to in my research was the idea of theocracy, and I'm gonna tie this to your conspiracy theory talk, right?
Mhm.
And so I got to this, because the plantation does give us access to all them scholarly articles and whatnot. And Dr. James Proctor wrote a religion titled Religion as Trust in Authority, Theocracy and Ecology in the United States. And in this, basically in this essay, he shares the results of research that he conducted, wherein he surveyed some Americans and he defined religion. The praxis was defining religion as trust in authority, and also, of course, noting the geographical um, variables and whatnot. But I really do just want to know just based on that title, what do you think of, and with respect to the title to today's show, what do you think about that idea, religion as trust and authority? And I'm gonna hop off because I got a meeting I'm
Good,
supposed to
good. Because
be
I
in.
got. All right, bro. I'll just answer you off the air next
Or
time. Yes. Religion makes people not only susceptible and more willing to submit to authority, it also legitimizes authority. And if you look at the text of the major religion, not just the Western religion, but Hinduism and Buddhism, they also support rigid hierarchy. So that's absolutely true. Religious indoctrination makes one not only more likely to submit to authoritarianism, but to associate authorities and power with the divine. Okay, Michael Lewis, you're live, audio, and everyone. We're gonna try to move fast because I got a lot of people lined up. So let's keep it brief to get as many people on as we can. What's up, Michael Lewis?
Yeah, how I'm the author of Angry, Loud, and Clear Truth, Exposing the Money Machine and the Untold Nature of Christianity. I want to answer your previous one. You asked about authority. The Bible says in Romans 13 and 1 Peter 2 that the governors place everybody God to do good, honor, and obey him. And then for all says in 6 different places in the New Testament, slaves, obey your masters no matter how wicked they are. Yes, it does promote authority. The New Testament was authored by Pharisee Josephus to impose a slave and submissive mentality for the Roman Empire to rule over their people easier. And it was later brought into the kingdom under Constantine, as he made a state religion. It was never true. The Old Testament, if you want to believe all the stories, go ahead. It does promote leaders, obeying leaders and fearing God, who will put you in hell because if you don't believe what they tell you to and grovel before him. And he has prophets who tell you what to do, and the pastors who learn in seminary the Bible is lies and also learn how to manipulate those lies to the best of their ability for the Vatican. Every Christian denomination and every country's rulership is underneath the Vatican, especially underneath the Jesuits. And all the evidence is in my books.
All right, appreciate you. We're gonna stand on that. Thanks for calling in. I agree with most of what you said, but towards
It
the
doesn't
end
matter
there,
if
you
you
kind of
agree with me or not. It's just true. I show the evidence.
Yeah, if you can't get the books, share the links to your texts in the comments, and we're gonna move on to our next. Thanks, Mike. Okay, who's next? Uh, I hope I don't mispronounce your name. Giannis
Jonas.
Jonas. What's up, brother?
Jonas. What's up, bro? How are you? I had a couple questions, and the first one is, this is maybe a little bit of a divergent topic, but this is on the Iceman's Inheritance. Do you consider that book a eugenicist argument?
No,
Why not?
because he doesn't make a eugenicist argument.
Well, okay. I guess I just sort of thought the implication is that there's some sort of genetic predisposition towards savagery because of the evolution from the Ice Age.
Yeah, I mean, he does say that the historical records suggest that, but he does not offer up selective breeding as the solution to that. In order to be pro-eugenics, eugenics is not just about saying that people have biological and genetic traits that can influence personality and behavior. It also, eugenics is about saying you can selectively breed human beings, breed in or breed out characteristics and behaviors. So he doesn't offer that. If you read about what he proposes as solutions, he does not give a eugenicist solutions.
I see. And then the second question I had was, I watched The Ballot and the Bullet, and I saw sort of solutions about how it would work well inside of the electoral system. But I guess I was just wondering, can you lay out scenarios for revolution, like in a sense of tangible, practical, like maybe this is a whole episode or something, but much in the way it's where you laid out a black agenda. I'm interested to see with somebody who, like you, understands and knows statecraft, to lay out what a revolution could theoretically look like, or how it could come about, what actions we could take as individuals to bring it about. I mean, you know what I mean? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
here?
well, here's the thing about it. If you look at most revolutions, we tend to associate violent uprising or violent upheaval with revolution. But what we look at, especially if we look at some of the more contemporary revolutions that came about after the industrial era, as separate from like a pre-industrial revolution, such as the Haitian Revolution or the overthrow of monarchs. If you look at industrial era revolutions, because of the intensity of the imbalance and the alienation within capitalism, many revolutions, the revolutions were not violent. The violence entered the revolution when the elites or the oligarchs tried to either sustain their power or retake their power. Right now, let's look at any major multinational corporation right now. Look at Amazon, right? Or Walmart. A revolution would simply say the workers take a step back and sit down. If all the workers for Walmart, do you think the Walton family, the richest family in the United States, you think the Waltons and their children and grandchildren can walk into any Walmart and operate that Walmart? If the working class people, if the poor and working class people simply refuse to cooperate in unison, so revolution is unified, coordinated actions of the oppressed. And there wouldn't have to be a shot fired if we would end our cooperation. So revolution, to even get towards that, is mass education. That's why I started, really taking serious media and producing and sharing and engaging with media in any outlet, written, video, audio, even auditory, musical revolution, to get people to that point. So revolution simply looks like the working class masses, the oppressed masses, understanding and comprehending what their interests are, and then taking simple actions in their best interest. And if the working class people did that, there wouldn't be one shot necessarily fired.
All right.
But to get there, that's a lot of work. But that's that. But where we are now, as things stand, the few of us who are conscious, who are revolutionaries, we have to intensify our coordination, pull our resources, and demonstrate to the masses the viability of our ideas and the viability of our methods. We have to do that amongst ourselves. But we're more content, often we as revolutionaries are content with the reality that we know more than the next man, we understand things above and beyond the next man, and we spend more time critiquing those outside the struggle than we do coordinating and building with those within the struggle.
I see. Thank you.
All right, bro. Let me get to the next callers. I don't want people to drop out. I'm a little over time, but
no, that was all I had. Thank you.
Tune in. I appreciate you, bro. Okay, let's Yazid, please keep it brief. Welcome to the I almost said the wrong show. Welcome to the Rational Radical Show. Question, comment, criticism?
Absolutely. Can you hear me good?
I hear you perfectly.
Awesome. Okay, so I was gonna mention a German book called The Criminal History of Christianity, but that's a different rabbit hole. I actually want to talk about, because you mentioned leftist conspiracy theories. I was wondering if you knew about the Symbionese Liberation Front and how there's a long-standing, or not a long-standing, but I would say there is a very real leftist conspiracy about how the government basically used Donald Freeze to use them as kind of like an experiment for leftist organizing, and then ultimately like shut it down when they needed to.
I am familiar with that, and people have said that about also SDS. I know that the exact same thing with white leftist groups or white mixed race groups. That was always the because Bobby E. Wright accused the SDS or Student for Democratic Society of introducing drugs and other distracting, or what the Panthers called at the time, lumpen behaviors to the larger movement. I am familiar with that, but to be honest, I haven't given it much thought in terms of trying to validate or invalidate those accusations about the white left.
Yeah, so I'm not so sure about the SDS. I know that in general, there's a lot of suspicion around them, just because a lot of them, like, I mean, they did a lot of bombings, and the fact that like some of them are university professors now, and just like the way they got away with it, like that's very suspicious. But as far as Donald
Angela
Freeze,
Davis was on the FBI most wanted, and she also went into academia. Also, what's his name? What's the brother's name? The little Cabbage Patch Kid looking dude, Milana Karinga.
Yeah, Karinga, yeah.
Very serious assaults against Black women and other insidious murders, and he's also a tenured professor in academia. So it ain't just the white left or the white radicals who managed to pull that off.
Yeah, no. If you're not that serious and you have a record of being violent towards your own community, you'll get off. Apparently, that's how it works.
Angela Davis didn't really have history of being violent towards our own community.
Maybe not violent, but I mean, she definitely was someone who showed up and then knew how to get out when she needed to. So, but no,
I say go look at Kidi Obiawadu, or reach out to Kidi Obiawadu and his research on Angela Davis, or you can pull up Dr. Clark's writings and speculations about Angela Davis. But I ain't gonna get into it.
Yeah, no. The last thing I'll
argument for the elders. Well, I'm sorry.
No, 100%. But yeah, no. Last thing I'll say, because I don't want to hog up too much time. So for Donald Freeze specifically, there's a really great YouTube channel called Our Hidden History. They have a great archive of old radio interviews that just go into a lot of those issues. They have a long series about the CIA's connection with the mafia and what they did in the 70s. But specifically with Donald Freeze, basically with the interviews they basically lay out how he was an asset from MK Ultra, and how everything that happened with the Symbionese Liberation Front, like, they got away with too much for the government not to do anything. It was very clear that the government may not have directly supported them, but they definitely let them get away with what they did.
Yeah, false flag and Ancient provocateurs were everywhere at that era. But again, like I said, I perhaps haven't given that. I'm very familiar with these accusations, especially from white leftist groups and some within the black radical movement. You know, you had look at what's his name, Eldridge Cleaver. He was
Yeah,
Soul
yeah.
on Ice, and he went in. So yeah, I agree that was happening. We have some people who were exposed, some people who made it and got all the way through to the end, and we still hold them in high esteem. But they do have several blemishes and several unexplained events happen in their life. So I agree, it's there, and
Yeah. Again, it's like a lot of conspiracy
there.
theories. I think it's really interesting. I don't think anything is conclusively proven, but it's definitely
Right.
an eye opener.
Yeah, yeah, we got to keep our heads on the swivel and stay skeptical.
100%. But yeah, thanks for letting me
Being a
on. You can go to
critical
the next
thinker
caller.
and being skeptical. All right, brother.
Take it
Appreciate
easy.
you. All right. All right. Holly, thank you for being so patient. You're live. You're muted. Hello, Holly. Thank you for being so patient with us. I saw you,
Okay.
you waiting there.
Yeah, thank you.
Question,
I have
comment,
a couple of
criticism.
things to add.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Uh, First of all, I took the same classes you took as far as physical physiology, the pre-med classes, and I never heard most of the stuff that you're saying, but I did have teachers come who said they warned about a, a diseases that can kill millions of people just by you carry it in a little valve and you open it up in a department store at a train station, and automatically it travels with those people out to out into the everywhere. And that's they the dude was from Germany, and he came there especially to teach about warfare. That was the title of the class. So therefore, there are conspiracies that they are constantly doing in labs, just like the coronavirus, which allegedly uh, they they are putting out here. But you can comment on what I'm saying all at once. But the other thing, I looked up genocides, and from the United Nations, I can tell you what it says. Killing members of a group, causing serious bodily, mental harm to members of a group, deliberately inflicting on a group conditions that calculated to bring physical destruction to the whole or in part, imposing measures intended to prevent births within a group, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. And it can be part of a group as long as that part is identified and geographically limited. So that genocide, that if you, in my book, when I'm look at America, they have been structuring Africans for genocide all my life. All my life, they have been structuring. And the other thing that I wanted to say is people are in support of the state, whether they like it or not. As long as you live in a Western country and work here, you are contributing to the furtherance of the country, which is limiting you and what you can do. So you still are, I kind of felt like this today because I don't see how people can get out of how, even if you organize, how you can get out of this condition that the Western world has set up, and without a war. You cannot get out of this condition because it's evasive, it's everywhere. You work here, you
Right.
still got to pay for your housing, your food, and everything.
Um.
And you
Okay.
still have to go right back to where you're trying to get away from. Oh, wait. Let me just say this. I just remember one more thing. As far
Mhm.
as people's health is concerned, if you look at people in what they call third world countries, where they eat their own food, they grow their own meat, they are not sick as the people in these Western countries that are eating all this fake food. And the reason why people that I have investigated in medical are dying, especially Africans, is from the lack of ability for your body to process these chemical additives in food.
Okay.
Thanks.
You want to stay on the line
That's
because I
it.
think you brought up some very good points, and I'd like to speak to.
I'll, I'll stay here
Okay,
and
as
listen
far
to
as
you.
what you said about
Yeah,
biological and chemical
yeah,
warfare, they are very real. They actually happened as a result of when the U.S. I mean, when Western powers started industrializing warfare. Because prior to the Industrial Revolution, warfare was essentially fought on battlefields, and the main casualties of warfare were soldiers.
right,
And so, literally, like during the Napoleonic era, there would be an established warfare, and the armies would meet on the field. They would engage in warfare. There weren't really any long range weapons besides cannons and things of that nature. And it was even to the point where civilians would sometimes set up campsites to observe the battle from a distance. And if you defeated someone's army, you got to advance on their territory. But as warfare became more industrialized and the technology for warfare advanced, they found that most wars weren't fought on quote unquote battlefields, but they were fought within cities and within territories. And weapons were created that could transverse ground and air at rapid distances. So you didn't just fight on battlefields, they fought in towns, cities, and even bombing capitals. And they saw that even if you were the invading army and you came in bombing and
right,
blowing everything up, you destroyed the very infrastructure you were trying to capture. So they conceptualized chemical and bio warfare, saying, hey, how do we kill off masses of people without destroying the buildings, without destroying the bridges, without destroying the pipelines and things of that nature?
right.
So that's when they came up, was like, well, let's use gas, poison, mustard gas, World War I, mustard gas, anthrax, and later on. But then they found that there was shifts in wind, water sources would get contaminated, and that chemical and biological
Yeah,
warfare was too uncontrollable. I can control where a musket flies, I control where a cannon shoots, I can control where a missile lands with some friendly fire. But when it comes to releasing biochemical weapons, and especially bioweapons, are self-replicating. So then they met together and said, hey, let's put a moratorium or ban these weapons in warfare. Let's have an international agreement on the uses and deployment of these weapons, and agree not to use these weapons because we can't control them. And so many scientists illegally went to say, well, how can we have targeted bio and chemical weapons? So they
right.
do exist. And many people say, like in the first Gulf War in the 90s, Saddam Hussein deployed chemical weapons, and that there was this thing called the Gulf War syndrome. Many soldiers came back and started having deformed offspring. Even in Vietnam to this day, there are orphanages filled with. So
Right.
biochemical warfare is very real. It is officially against the law, against international law, to produce, stockpile, or deploy
Agent
such
Orange.
weapons. But right, Israel is a known, not just manufacturer. Many rogue states, truly rogue states, not the ones they claim are rogue, but truly states that uh, break international law without. So you're very correct about biochemical warfare. But a lot of times we identify things as biochemical warfare that aren't, which I think distorts people's understanding of what biological and chemical weapons are, and the potential harm and threats. If you start calling anything you don't like, every product on the shelf, and every time there is legitimate epidemics, there are legitimate flus and pandemics and outbreaks of diseases, communicable diseases. And if every time that happens, which it has happened
But
throughout history, allow me to finish. I didn't interrupt you, Holly. That happened, we can't just throw that label around loosely because it causes hysteria. And when there is, if everything's a
you
bioweapon, then
can't
nothing
do it
is.
willy-nilly. But
Okay. And so the next thing where you talked
yeah,
about
you can't do it willy-nilly. But the fact
where you
that
but let me get through your points. You talked about everyone supports the system because they contribute to the system. That it's not necessarily true. Only a small percentage of the people who participate and contribute to capitalism are actually capitalists. And people can be coerced to participate in a system or have to engage a system in order to sustain themselves and not support the system. And you cannot condemn human beings, individuals, for being a part of institutions or structures
no,
or
you can't.
states.
I'm not
So
condemning.
being present within or dwelling
Right.
within a system does not make you a supporter or even a beneficiary of that system.
Yes, yes.
So there are a lot of people in
You
chattel
are.
slavery that didn't support
Yes,
chattel
you do.
slavery. There are a lot of people subjected to capitalism and U.S. imperialism and living and trying to sustain themselves and develop themselves up under this system who do not support the system. I think that is an unfair criticism and critique of the masses of people who are subjected to unjust hierarchies. Finally,
It's unfair.
in terms of the health of the third world, I think we people who live in the industrialized Western country have this fantasy of people living in the so-called third world or undeveloped or colonized nations, that they're living off the land and that they are living
They
with
are
some
healthier than we
pristine.
are.
That is not true. And the reason that is not true is because infrastructure of poor nations has been ravaged by capitalist exploitation and colonialism. They don't have proper
Oh,
sewage
yeah, that.
treatment. They don't have proper health infrastructure. They don't have access to nutritious food, even though they live on some of the luscious land, because as Sheun Kuti said, 70% of Nigeria's agricultural land is set up for export and cash crops. So even though you live in the fertile tropical regions of the planet and your land is being used for sugarcane, your land is being used for cash crops to feed the profits of multinational corporations. There are people who grow chocolate, who grow the coca, who've never seen a chocolate bar, never eaten a chocolate bar. So I think we do a disservice to our brothers and sisters living under direct imperial repression by idealizing their conditions. And a lot of times when we travel to Africa, we travel to the Caribbean, we're in these tourist areas designated for Westerners. And we're like, wow, they're living this tropical existence, and we don't get an opportunity to go to the slums. And so life expectancy, infectious disease, and other contaminated water, every day, tens of thousands of children die from contaminated water and lack of treatment and dehydration that comes from viruses and bacterial infections. So the health of the so-called people in the third world, even though they don't have access to Cheetos and and Doritos and other processed food that are harming us here, that does not mean that they're living some primitive, healthy existence. I think that's a fallacy that we shouldn't promote. Okay, I'm done.
Okay. All right. What I studied was the blue zones, where they had people who were pretty much, they were growing their own food and living off their little small farms. I went to Africa. I guess I went to Kumasi and a couple of other places. I didn't actually see anybody living in huts, but I do know they didn't have good sanitation. But the whole thing is your immune system adapts to the place where you're living. So therefore their immune system is stronger than our immune system, because in America we have been so limited that if they want to F us up, they can do that anytime, because we scared of worms, we're scared of ants, we don't like mosquitoes. And in other countries, you can't avoid the germs. So your body builds up a resistance to that. But anyway, the real thing that I was trying to say is you got to eat real food. And what they're doing to our kids, which I believe is genocide, the way where they're eating is in the 7-Eleven, the what you call it, gas station. I'm in Chicago like you are. I taught at these schools. These kids, and then now they're going to Starbucks. Ain't shit at no Starbucks for nobody's nutrition. And this is genocide. This is freaking on purpose to kill and to destroy the generations that are following. You can't get no nutrition out of that. And not only is it fake, it's sugar. So is somebody 50 years old gonna get sugar? When my mother and father died in their 90s and they never had sugar. My father came from a farm in Alabama. He ate nothing but real food. Those people are stronger, even though some of them are dead, have, whatever. They were stronger than these generations now. These generations can't take sickness. That's why they die so fast. That's why they got heart problems. But again, anyway, that's what I wanted to say, because a lot of things that you're saying is real, but
Well, and also I didn't get an opportunity to speak to genocide, and I think in your reading of the formal definition of the crime of genocide, I think it points out that extermination of population, you can engage in genocide without having as your agenda or an outcome the extermination of a population. So I've said since I've first started producing online content back in 7 years ago with the start of the Bro Diallo show, that we are under an ongoing campaign of genocide. But a lot of times people would think, well, our numbers are going up, increasing. The population of Africa is going up. And the population of the world is increasing. So there's not genocide. Genocide is not simply about exterminating populations whole. Genocide can be displacement. Driving people out of their regions, out of their homes, is an act of genocide. Confiscating people's resources, or confiscating and adopting out people's children, not to kill the children, but have the children raised by other people, is considered an act of genocide. So we tend to think genocide is strictly about the wholesale extermination, and a lot of people won't even acknowledge or understand that genocide is ongoing if they don't see evidence of wholesale extermination. Or some people falsely believe, I'm gonna have a whole lot of kids, and if we have a whole lot of kids, that means we're not under genocide. Or black women lose the right to access to abortion, that ends the genocide. That's because people don't comprehend the full scale, scope, and purpose of genocide. But I have to disagree with you to an extent. I do believe that the food is being denurtured, and the quality of food that we have access to has been greatly manipulated and denurtured. But again, I really don't want to idealize the past. Black people from the Jim Crow era, from the post-Reconstruction era, there were chronic diseases like rickets and other diseases related to malnutrition that plagued us. Now, there are new diseases today, certain degenerative diseases, obesity, type 2 diabetes, that didn't. So there are different types of ailments that plague our community today in this era of highly processed food. But going back to sustenance farming, or going back is not going to remedy the problems. That will just cause
No.
an emergence of problems of the past. You know, my great grandparents also had a very different diet, but oppression, exploitation, poverty, medical apartheid
Yeah.
afflicted our ancestors. A lot of times I see us idealizing the pre-integration, pre-desegregation era Black America, and we discount a lot of the suffering that endured. I've read many of
Yeah.
the old medical journals when I was a student at Downstate, the
And the
old
thing,
medical journals, and the health impacts of racism were just as bad then as they are now, even though they weren't eating processed food or GMO food that didn't exist. My great
right.
grandfather, Grandpa Sonic's Bowie in Oklahoma and in Missouri, would have to go out and hunt squirrels, raccoons, and possums to stop his family from starving, raising my grandmother, my great uncle, and great aunt during the Great Depression. And the cans back then were lead laced with toxic chemicals, and there were a lot of toxins that were in the food due to lack of regulation, lack of oversight in slaughterhouses. There were problems back then as there are now. And I don't think it's acceptable or ethical to say, well, hey, let people be
Yeah.
exposed to toxic water or unregulated food sources so that their immune systems could get strong. The immune system does not work like muscles. An immune system that is constantly ravaged by parasites, disease, and toxins does not become stronger. It literally wears out and breaks down like your joints. The immune system works more like your joints. Overworking them will cause it to deteriorate, not get stronger. Whereas your muscles, as you work them, they do get stronger, but the immune system does not work that way. So we should not advocate that people expose themselves to diseases, that they don't wear a mask and just get the cold so your immune system does not get stronger. Your immune system actually gets strengthened if you maintain health and homeostasis. But constantly being ravaged by immune impacting diseases will harm your immune system, not make it stronger.
Yeah, I agree. It is, or if that wasn't true, we wouldn't be dying of COVID-19. But what I'm trying to say is that you have to learn from the past so that you don't repeat the stuff that's wrong, and that you improve. Because actually, if you look at it, poor white people and Black people are being affected by the same diet, because that's what they like, that's the trend and all that kind of stuff. So you really, if it was genocide, it's a genocide against the poor. In that case, it's not just targeted at Black people, but
Well, genocide, and it's not genocide against white people,
it's a lot of stuff.
The root word of genocide is genes. So genocide is specific to race and ethnicity. So white people cannot commit genocide against other whites. White people can commit what is called fratricide. When you kill your own people, that's called fratricide. When you kill people based on their phenotype or genetic characteristics that is different from yours, that's genocide. So even if we unite with the poor and working class whites, we can't say that they're also being subjected to genocide, even when their own people, when these corrupt presidents pack white boys in ships and the Green Berets and Marines and send them overseas as cannon fodder, that's a fratricidal act, not a genocidal act. But when they pack up Black boys and send them overseas, that's an act of genocide. And I'm not advocating for either, but the terminologies and the methodologies and the outcome are different, so we should understand them as two distinct occurrences.
Yeah. I agree.
But anyway, we're a little over. I
pretty
really
much
appreciate
that's
you
about
calling in.
it. You touched everything I wanted to get to. Power to the
All right,
people.
wonderful. All right, so you in Chicago? We're gonna have to go get some oat milk lattes. Anyway, appreciate you, sis.
Yeah.
What's the artwork? Is that your artwork in the background?
All right.
Is that your artwork in the background?
I'm in Chinatown. That's
Oh.
mine. Yeah, that's me. Yep.
Show us. Let's
Yep.
what we got there. That looked like my son's.
I got a
That
lot
is
of
beautiful.
stuff. I was 3 boys on skateboards. It's not
I tell you,
finished.
it looks like my son's on their skateboard.
It's still a
That
work
is
in progress.
nice. Still, right on, sis. That is beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So please come back.
Yeah, I
and
got
share
a lot
more
of
art
art.
with us. Okay, come back and share more. Oh, were you at the African Arts Festival?
Yeah, I was looking for you. Yeah, I was looking
there.
for you. I don't know. I was there the first day and 2 other days. First 3 days. I mean, no, I didn't go Sunday. I went Monday.
I was there.
But I didn't stay for the concerts.
Why'd you have a booth? Did you have a booth?
Okay, I was there Monday. Yeah, they robbed me. I spent all my money.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, if you send me, I can send you my email or something, and then cause it's a lot of stuff I want to ask you. Put in the comments.
No, don't put it on the comments. You have a bunch of weirdos emailing you. Send it to @Diallo across the socials @Diallo. Send me your email. I think there's a delay.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything is messed up. My computer is slow. Anyway.
That's a conspiracy. They conspiring to silence you. The Illuminati.
@Diallo. That's all. Like if I did an email, I just put @.
Yeah. Yes, you can reach me across the socials.
I got a lot of art though.
I'm a connoisseur of black art, so I appreciate that. We got it. You delaying. All right, I have to log off because okay, because her connection is messing up. See, the Illuminati finally got to who went and told the Illuminati? Sugar Booger went and told the Illuminati what we was doing. Which one of y'all got the payoff? Geechee Wub. Anyway, thank you for Sugar Booger. Which one of y'all went and told the Illuminati on us and got the what they call the EMP pulse on Sister Holly? Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being here. And I appreciate everybody that came on the live to make up for Skipp's deficit. I'm gonna see if I hope Skipp plane got off the ground and landed safely. I know what it is. Skipp didn't want to go back. He pretended like his plane was delayed so he didn't have to go back to Mississippi. He's really a city boy at heart. He wanted to stay up here with the skyscrapers and the bright lights. Talking about he missed his plane got delayed. I didn't hear from him. So, but anyway, if you're into praying, but nope. But I'm pretty sure he's trying to get back. So, thoughts and prayers to Skipp. Skipp usually closes us out with some calming and inspirational words. And since we don't do that, we're just going to have to not have the calming and inspirational words from Skipp because he ain't here. And he's too busy being ratchet with Jared, him and Jared ripping and running in the streets. So hopefully he'll be back on the next broadcast. And since, like I said, we don't have his inspirational words, you just have to close out with my harsh unpleasantness. And I will be Friday. Friday will be with the Earn Your Liberation, Jared. If Jared ain't still playing hooky with Skipp, we'll be online with Garrett and of course Geechee for Earn Your Liberation Friday. And Again, the Bro Diallo broadcast, Q4 Radio, local broadcast here and online with the Bro Diallo Show. Thank you again, everyone. Like, share, subscribe, support all the broadcasters, support the station, support me, help me, and I will see y'all Friday morning on Black Power Media. Peace.